The psychology of luxury, why expensive things feel better. Have you ever noticed how expensive things just feel different? The coffee tastes better. The hotel room feels quieter. Even your posture changes. Nothing about you changed. Nothing about the product changed. So why does your brain react differently? Let's begin with one of the most powerful and misunderstood effects in consumer psychology. Price doesn't just reflect value, it actively creates experience. When we see a high price, our brain doesn't interpret it as a number. It interprets it as a signal that says effort was invested, skill was required, and something about this product is different from the rest. In controlled experiments, researchers gave participants the exact same products: wine, chocolate, even painkillers, but labeled them with different prices. Without exception, participants reported that the higher-priced version tasted better, worked faster, and felt more satisfying. But the most fascinating part came from brain imaging. When people believed they were consuming the expensive product, their brains showed increased activity in regions associated with pleasure and reward. In other words, the enjoyment wasn't imagined, it was biologically real. This effect is known as the price-quality heuristic. Our brains evolved to rely on shortcuts because evaluating everything from scratch would be exhausting. Historically, higher cost often did mean higher quality, more labor, better materials, greater expertise. So our brains learned to trust price as a shortcut for value. Luxury brands understand this deeply. High prices aren't just about profit margins, they are psychological triggers. The moment you see the price, your expectations change. Your anticipation increases. Your brain begins preparing itself to experience something special. This anticipation alone enhances pleasure. By the time you touch a luxury product, wear it or use it, your brain has already decided it should feel good. And once the brain expects pleasure, it often delivers. Luxury doesn't wait for satisfaction to happen. It programs it in advance. Luxury is almost never easy to get, and that difficulty is not a flaw, it's the feature. Waiting lists that stretch for months or even years. Limited releases that sell out in minutes. Private collections available only by invitation. These barriers are not logistical problems, they are psychological tools. Scarcity triggers one of the strongest responses in the human brain. When something is rare, our mind assigns it greater importance and urgency. The object immediately feels more valuable, not because it changed, but because access did. Psychologists call this the scarcity principle. From an evolutionary perspective, rare resources often meant survival. Food, shelter, and protection weren't guaranteed. Those who secured scarce resources lived longer and gained status within their group. That ancient wiring still exists. Luxury brands deliberately activate it by controlling supply. This is why some of the most prestigious brands refuse to meet demand. Increasing availability would increase sales, but it would destroy desire. Some brands even go as far as destroying unsold inventory rather than discounting it, because discounts send a dangerous signal: this is easy to get. And once something feels easy, it feels less valuable. Scarcity also creates emotional tension. The longer you wait for something, the more your brain commits to it. You imagine owning it. You picture how it will feel. You mentally justify the effort. By the time you finally obtain the item, the emotional payoff is amplified. Not just because of the product, but because of the journey. Luxury doesn't just reward purchase, it rewards perseverance. It doesn't sell objects alone, it sells achievement. Luxury communicates even when no one says a word. The moment someone notices a luxury watch, a designer bag, or a high-end car, information is exchanged instantly. Not just about wealth, but about taste, discipline, success, and belonging. These objects act as symbols in a social language we all unconsciously understand. Psychologists call this social signaling. Humans are deeply social creatures. Long before modern society, survival depended on understanding hierarchy: who had power, who had resources, and who could be trusted. Today, those instincts haven't disappeared. They've simply changed form. Luxury objects function as visual shortcuts. Instead of long explanations, they quickly signal where someone might belong within a social structure. This is why luxury items often matter most in unfamiliar or competitive environments, job interviews, social events, or high-status spaces. But the most powerful signal luxury sends isn't outward, it's inward. When people wear or own luxury, their behavior often changes. Posture becomes straighter, movements become slower and more deliberate. People speak with more confidence and assertiveness, not because the object changed them physically, but because it changed how they see themselves. Psychologists refer to this as enclothed cognition, the idea that what we wear can influence how we think and behave. Luxury reinforces identity. It tells the brain, you belong here. And when people feel they belong, they act accordingly. Luxury doesn't just shape perception from the outside, it reshapes self-perception from within. It doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. Most luxury purchases are not practical decisions, They are identity decisions. People rarely buy luxury because they need it. They buy it because of what it represents, and more importantly, what it allows them to feel about themselves. Psychologists describe this as self-expansion theory, the idea that humans use experiences, relationships, and possessions to expand their sense of identity. We are constantly evolving, and the things we own often become symbols of who we are, or who we're trying to become. Luxury items are powerful because they are tied to an ideal version of the self. Confident, disciplined, successful, refined, the object becomes a physical reminder of those traits. That's why luxury advertising almost never focuses on technical features. Instead, it shows lifestyles, quiet confidence, elegance, control, and transformation. The message is subtle but clear. This isn't just a product, it's a version of you. When someone owns a luxury item, it can feel like proof of progress, a signal that they've moved closer to the person they imagined becoming. And that feeling is deeply rewarding. The product itself becomes symbolic. It marks a moment in someone's personal story, an achievement, a milestone, or a turning point. Luxury works because it doesn't ask, what do you want to own? It asks, who do you want to be? And when an object feels connected to identity, it stops being just a purchase, it becomes part of the self. Luxury without a story feels empty. That's why luxury brands emphasize heritage, craftsmanship, and legacy. Stories turn objects into symbols. A hand-stitched bag feels different from a factory-made one, even if durability is similar, because effort creates emotional value. This taps into the endowment effect. We value things more when they feel personal or meaningful. Luxury brands don't just sell objects. They sell time, mastery, and tradition, and meaning outlasts function. Luxury without a story feels empty. An object can be expensive, well-made, and visually impressive, but without a story, it lacks emotional gravity. This is why luxury brands place such heavy emphasis on heritage, craftsmanship, and legacy. Stories turn ordinary objects into symbols. When a brand tells you that a bag is hand-stitched by a single artisan, or that a watch takes hundreds of hours to assemble, your brain assigns meaning to the object. Even if the durability is similar to a factory-made product, it feels different, because effort creates emotional value. This is closely connected to a psychological phenomenon known as the endowment effect. We value things more when they feel personal, rare, or emotionally significant. A story gives the object a past, and that past makes it feel irreplaceable. Luxury brands understand that people don't just want things, they want continuity. They want to feel connected to something larger than themselves: tradition, mastery, and time. That's why luxury narratives often stretch back decades or even centuries. When you buy luxury, you're not just purchasing a product made today. You're buying into a lineage, a chain of skill, patience, and refinement that existed long before you and will continue after you. Luxury brands don't just sell objects. They sell time, they sell mastery, they sell tradition. And while function fades, meaning endures. The more we invest in something, the more we want it to be worth it. This is known as effort justification. Spending a large amount creates psychological pressure. Admitting disappointment would create discomfort, so the brain protects itself by amplifying positives. Luxury benefits from this internal reinforcement. The item feels better because believing otherwise would hurt. This doesn't mean people are lying to themselves, it means the mind seeks emotional balance. Luxury feels satisfying because it aligns cost with belief. So is luxury fake? No, but it's psychological. The emotions are real, the pleasure is real, the confidence is real. Luxury operates in the realm of meaning, not mechanics. Humans don't buy things for function alone. They buy them for identity, emotion, and experience. Luxury simply understands that deeply. The luxury endures because it satisfies something timeless. The desire to feel special, the desire to belong, the desire to become more. Once you understand the psychology, luxury loses its mystery, but not its power. Because the most expensive thing you ever buy isn't the object, it's the feeling it gives you.